airline or something.
If you got loads of screens.
Come on.
Chairman, I think we're now streaming live. My apologies for not having my camera on, but every time I put it on, it's interfering with the feed. So I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay with my camera off if that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. Okay, so we will commence with the meeting. This is the full council meeting for Bletchley and Fen Stratford Town Council. Welcome to all councillors and any residents listening in this evening. Okay, we'll first start the agenda this evening. Just to remind everyone, if they could try and make sure that their mobiles are on silent or off, unless you're using them for the meeting, obviously. Okay, and everything will be through the chair. So if you wish to speak, if you could raise your electronic hand and we will come to you. Please bear in mind that the standing orders indicate that you should speak once on a topic that we are debating. So we will try and enforce that rule this evening wherever possible. And if you're just going to agree with something, there isn't that necessity to just put your hand up to speak just to agree. Just bring up a new item is fine, that if you've got something new to bring to the table. And we've got quite a lot on the agenda, so I want to try and get through as much as business as possible. Okay, so we will start with apologies.
Yes, we've had apologies for absence from councillors Graham and Hewitt, and we've also had apologies for anticipated lateness from councillor Rohim.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do any members have any declarations of interest on the agenda this evening? I've got Michael MacDonald with his hand up. Councillor MacDonald?
Yep, just looking at 8.3, Age UK. I don't know if there's going to be anything to follow on that one, but I have been using services they've provided, and I may be using services again very soon. So I don't know exactly what it relates to because it doesn't have any, it just says to follow. So if there is anything to that, I think I'll step out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will now move on to approve of the minutes from the previous meeting. We'll have those. We will go through them page by page. Page 1. Okay. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Okay, everyone's happy with those. I'll be signing those at the next available opportunity as a true record of that meeting. Okay, do we have any members of the public?
No, nobody's requested to speak, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we are to note the minutes from previous meetings. Well, first of all, we have the draft notes from the HR Resources Subcommittee. Anybody got any comments or any questions? Okay.
I don't know if you want the chair of the committee to, there is actually one recommendation. Yeah. I don't know if you'd like the chair of the HR subcommittee to make that recommendation, or
yeah,
it's highlighted in the
I've got that
highlighted in the minutes.
Okay, Ethan as chair.
Sorry. The minutes of which meeting?
The HR committee on the 7th.
It's page 8 of the pack, Councillor.
Sorry, I haven't got the big pack open. I'm using the list.
Okay. Would it be helpful if I read out what it says?
I can find it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Page 8.
Yeah.
So we resolved at the HR committee as soon as possible to consider in the first week of January the HR budget at that time. So I think it was agreed or it's recommended that we consider the budget this evening. However, anything to do with new jobs or roles or our employees be considered by the HR committee. That won't happen until the first week of January.
That's right. And the HR committee has now been scheduled for the 5th, Tuesday the 5th.
Okay, so is everybody happy with that? Okay, so we just do that. All in favour?
Okay.
Test your electronic hands out. That's the wrong one again.
I think that's carried, Chairman.
Yeah, that's carried. Thank you very much.
The second item, Chairman.
Yes, please.
That we discussed the progress with the neighbourhood plan, and we resolved to propose to full council that an interim chair be elected to lead the steering group through the process of selecting additional members for the group and shortlisting planning consultants to work with the steering group. And it was further resolved to suggest that one of the new council members be appointed to the steering group also.
Okay, can we agree on that recommendation? All those in favour? Electronic hands.
Really bad.
Okay, I believe that's carried.
That's carried, yes. We have actually had 2 nominations for chair of the steering group. Now, the terms of the steering group are that they elect their own chair and thus their own interim chair. But I don't know if you wish to proceed with that tonight.
I think the first thing that would be good to resolve tonight is one of the new members going on to that steering group. So if we could do that first, and then the steering group can then elect their chair, but it would only be the members of that steering group that can vote for that chair, as I understand it.
Yes, that's as I understand it also.
Okay, so is anybody interested in going on the neighbourhood steering group that are a new councillor? If you could raise your electronic hand, that'd be excellent.
So we've got Terry, Marie, I think, and Mo.
And Mo. And Gavin.
And Gavin. Oh, excellent.
And Aisha.
It's fantastic. And Aisha.
Sorry to interrupt.
And Aisha as well.
I was just going to say, I do think it's really important that diversity is reflected in the councillors that are going on this committee. I do think it will need a lot of work with various communities within Bletchley and Fenny Stratford, and some of those communities we need people who've got links with those communities, I think.
Okay, thank you, Ethan. So I will just go for advice, Delia. As we've got quite a few new members that are interested, how would we vote for those people to go on that committee, steering committee?
Well, I think as they would be representing the council, that would be a decision of the council to appoint them to the steering committee.
Yeah, I get that, but how do we do it? How would you conduct that?
I think if you would want to go ahead with that tonight, I don't think we were anticipating quite so much interest. I think if you were to go ahead with it tonight, it would be fair to hear from the individual candidates what they thought they brought to the what they could bring to the steering group, and then it would be a matter of voting.
Okay, that'd be good. That's okay then. So, shall we start with each person? Shall we start with, this is in no particular order, as they say, I'm celebrating. Mo, would you like to start?
Hello everyone, yes I can. I live in, like you know, I live in Bletchley, but I have good business in Tavistock Street, and I got quite a lot linked with the Bengali and Pakistani community, and quite a lot of English people as well. I'm up for be a member, but you know, if somebody else wants to be a member, I'll be fine supporting them.
Okay, thank you, Mo. Again, in no particular order. Gavin Bedford, would you like to?
So, oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm relatively new to the area. I've lived here for just over a year now, and I'm keen to get more involved and find out ways of supporting the local community. And I think this would be a good experience for me in that sense, but also help with the council work more generally.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I believe Aisha, you wanted to go forward?
Yeah, same reasons like Mo. I live in Bletchley. I worked in Bletchley, so I do know majority of the community people here. We also have family businesses here. I'm in touch with the young people as well as the elderly and the women in the community. So, you know, that's one of my reasons. Like, I'd want to get involved in the neighborhood side of things. I was actually going to raise something. I spoke to Delia a couple of days ago regarding the community safety side of things, but that can be discussed later because some of the community residents have approached me with those sort of things, and I just wanted to bring that forward to everybody on this platform today. So I'm very keen to get involved and make this a better and a safer place for our residents in Bletchley.
Okay, thank you. Marie?
I'm actually going to decide to drop, sorry, because I can do it for another way. Yeah, so I'll leave it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie.
It's just me that's not frozen. I'm sorry, I missed that. It froze for me.
Marie's withdrawn
Okay.
her interest.
Okay, could we just go over that the neighbourhood plan is a planning document? It's not about the strategy, and just so everyone's aware of that. It's a planning document more than anything. Councillor Keith Ely.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, are we limited to one new member, or can we have two?
Well, the thing was, we wanted to keep it down to a small amount because it's supposed to be for the community and for residents to be involved and businesses to be involved, so that more people would come to the table, and we didn't want it to be led by councillors. So we was trying to limit the number of councillors that were on that committee when we put it together.
How many have we got?
At the moment, we've got 4.
Right.
I mean, that's quite right, Chairman. The terms of reference for the group have been written by the council, and I think it did say a maximum of 5. I would have to double check, but that doesn't mean it couldn't be altered. But the more councillors there are, the less scope there is for other people. Chairman, Councillor Stevens did also indicate that he was interested.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't.
That's
see
okay.
that.
I think after hearing Councillor Kelly Wilson, I'm happy to withdraw. Actually, I think that's a good point he made.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Michael MacDonald.
Just a quick note, an observation, really, that we're voting by using this raise of hands.
Yes.
It's not viewable to the public.
Okay, but we will confirm the vote afterwards. But at the moment, it's working much better than seeing people's hands.
Okay, I just think it's nicer for public to see us.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we've got 4 councillors that wish to go forward. So
I think we've just got 3 now, haven't we? We've got Councillor Imran, Councillor Bedford, and Councillor Cannon.
okay, yeah, 3. You're right. Sorry. Okay, so we've got 3 councillors. So do each councillor get 1 vote for 1 person? Is that how it works, Delia?
I think so. If you're going to continue with one, yes, with 1 additional person on the group, which is what the recommendation you've just approved says.
Yes, that's what we had in the terms of reference for the steering group.
Yes.
Okay, Councillor Bedford.
Can we vote as well? The ones who say, can I vote for someone else, or had that?
Yes, you can vote for yourself. You can vote for yourself. You can vote for someone else.
Okay then. So we will start with it's electronic hands, and
Sorry.
you can vote.
Chairman, can I make a proposal?
Yes, please.
As all of the 3 councillors, there are currently 4 more experienced councillors on the committee. As all of the 3 councillors are now are completely new, in order to kind of balance it out a bit, could we add an additional one? I think that, there's 6 councillors. I think it would be good to get the benefit of 2 new councillors on it. I agreed with Keith.
Okay,
I'd like to propose that.
Okay, but bear in mind that this is meant to be community led, and it shouldn't have overbearing amount of councillors.
I completely understand that, but I think that I think there's multiple out of those councillors that have come forward tonight. There would be multiple skills that would be great to be used, and I think it is a good way of working with a new cohort of councillors as well.
Okay, so that's a proposal. Do we have a seconder?
Councillor Ely seconded that, Chairman.
Okay, so that's a seconder. So we're now going to move the motion that we, instead of electing 1 councillor, we will elect 2. That will give the steering group 6 councillors instead of 5, which is going against the proposal from HR and also in the document for the steering group. So just so you're aware of that. So all in favour of changing it to 2 councillors instead of 1? Electronic hands, please.
Well, I can see 9 votes in favour, and there appear to be 3 abstentions, and I can't see your vote, Chairman.
Okay, so that would be carried.
It would be carried, yeah.
Okay, so we'll now agree 2 people to go on that committee instead of 1. How do you do the vote now, Delia? The same? Everyone votes for 1 person?
I think just go through the names and everyone votes for 1 person, and the person with a clear majority is elected, and then we go through the procedure again, and for the second person.
Okay, so we will start electronic hands, please. We'll start with Aisha. All those in favour?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 7.
Okay. Then we'll go to Gavin. All those in favour?
3, 4. 4.
Okay. 4. Okay. And then we'll go to Mo.
1, 2. 1, 2. Councillor Rourke, were you voting there?
Councillor O'Rourke, have you voted at all? I'm not sure. Have you voted at all, Councillor O'Rourke?
Yes, but can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
You did vote, yeah?
I'll raise my hand. I did vote, but you're breaking up ever so bad, Angela. I can hardly hear you sometimes.
Okay.
I don't know if it's me lights out the front interfering with it or something. I don't know.
Okay. So you have voted. Okay, so Delia, the result of the vote?
Well, according to my calculation, we've got 7 in favour of Aisha, 4 in favour of Gavin, and I could see 2. Well, 1 for definite and 1 that I couldn't tell for Mo.
Okay, so I believe that that's a vote for Aisha to
It
go
is,
forward.
yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, so Aisha, let's go forward. So we do that whole again. You all get to vote once, and we're doing 2 people. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll start with Gavin. All those in favour for Gavin. Can you hear us, Eamon?
Yeah.
Okay.
7.
Okay.
7, I believe, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. And all those in favour for Mo?
I can see 3 at the moment.
Okay, has everybody voted? Or abstained as they wished? Can't see anybody indicating that otherwise.
No.
So can you just confirm the vote, Delia?
So 7 for Gavin and 3 for Mo, as far as I could see.
Okay. So that would indicate that Gavin goes on to the steering group. And unfortunately, Mo, this time you've not been selected. But I'm sure there's something to do, Mo, I'll tell you. There's loads to do.
There'll be many other opportunities, I'm sure.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we've now got the steering group. Okay, so that is Councillor Ely, Councillor Ed Hume, Councillor Kelly Wilson, Councillor Graham, who's not here this evening, and then we've got Councillor Gavin Bedford and Councillor Aisha. Is that correct?
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, so those people only, if we wish to do so tonight, and it would help Delia a lot if we could appoint a chair this evening so she can start coordinating with that chair and getting things moving on the neighbourhood plan. That was also the recommendation from the HR committee. So can we nominate a chair from that steering group? So that nomination must come from that steering group and only that steering group can vote. Okay.
Chairman, if it's any assistance, Councillor Hume and Councillor Graham have both expressed their interest, but obviously that they've expressed their interest to me. They haven't. I am not in a position to nominate them, but just so
Okay.
you know.
Okay, so they would have to be nominated by a member of that committee.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I have a nomination from those people on that committee for chair of that planning neighbourhood plan?
I think Councillor Kelly Wilson and Councillor Ely have got their hands up.
Yep, I've got that. Councillor Kelly Wilson, I've got you at the top.
I will nominate Ed Hume.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ely, Keith Ely.
I will second that, Chair.
Thank you. So we've got any other nominations? Well, I don't think we need to go to the vote if we've only got one nomination. Is that correct?
I don't think so.
Okay, so Councillor Hume, you are elected as chair of the neighbourhood plan group.
I should say interim chair until we've.
Yes, interim chair until one is elected from. Yeah. Absolutely. So that would be really good because that will make sure that things start to move while we're bringing everyone else on board. So thank you for doing that. And thank you, everyone for taking part. My computer's now gone to sleep.
If it's just helpful to mention, there is a date in the diary, the 14th of January, Thursday the 14th of January is in the diary for the neighbourhood plan steering group to meet.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Delia. Okay, so I've got now that we move on to the draft minutes from the Finance Committee. Okay, so obviously these are to be approved by the Finance Committee, so they're only for information, but I believe there is a recommendation on this minute, so we'll go to the Chair of the Finance Committee, Councillor Keith Ely.
No, Chair, it's Ed. Ed was chair of that meeting.
Oh, you didn't chair it?
No.
Okay, so we'll go to Councillor Hugh.
That's great. I've just lost my page. So
page 9.
I'm on my laptop and I've just been
Okay.
out of the action.
I don't know if Councillor Ely's got it to hand. Page
Okay,
9.
it's a recommendation to full council to donate 2,500 should be made to the trust to be funded from the I can't even read it, it's too small.
Chair, if I can
general reserves.
Yes, if I can assist. There was a presentation at the last Finance Committee meeting from the Bedford and Milton Keynes Waterway Trust, and they were requesting a donation to the community boat that is being put forward. And I believe I included some papers in the pack on the boat. There was a recommendation from the Finance Committee to make a donation of 2,500. It was very strongly supported by the committee, actually. So that's the first part of the recommendation.
Okay, so that's a recommendation from the Finance Committee. Can we try and agree that this evening? So all those in favour of that recommendation from the Finance Committee, could raise your electronic hands, please.
I make that 12.
Okay, so that would be carried. Okay, and the second part of the recommendation?
Shall I speak to that, Delia?
Yes, please.
Now that I've got the recommendation up in front of me, it's a lot easier now to do that. Apologies for that before. The second part of your recommendation is to authorise the clerk to work with the trust to develop a written agreement in support of the aspiration of the long-term ongoing partnership, including annual contributions from the council to the trust in order to develop the canal side landing points within Bletchley and Fenny Stratford, and to bring the proposed agreement back for consideration as soon as possible. I think it's possibly worth saying is the committee was very impressed with the work of the community boat, especially with being an electric boat, and the way they want to encourage the use of the canals in Milton Keynes, and hopefully one day they would like to open the canal between Bedford and Milton Keynes. But I think it's there's a lot of educational points here, and I think actually there's a lot of potential for us to work with them and to build some amenity around the canal. There's the option of developing an ongoing partnership with them, but I don't think we're in a place at the moment to necessarily say what those terms are, and this is where this recommendation comes from, is to allow the clerk to work with the Waterway Trust to develop what a partnership could look like, and for it to then come back to full council.
Okay, so just for clarification, no actual figure was indicated, so it's just an intent to work with them. Okay, that's good.
There was discussion of in the meeting, but of a figure of £5,000 per annum in terms of a long-term, developing a long-term fund. But the Finance Committee did not make a commitment to that. That was just a figure that was discussed.
Okay, so that's something to bear in mind when we're looking at the budget.
Yes,
if
indeed.
we have some intention of doing that. Okay, that's lovely. Okay, so all those in favour of that recommendation? Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's 10 votes in favour, Chairman. So that's carried.
That's carried. Okay, so that's all I have from the Finance Committee. Is that correct?
Correct, Chair.
Okay. So if we now move on to consider obtaining the BSLOC quotation with carbon audit for Bletchley and Fenny Stratford Town Council. Is item 6.
Yes, Chair. There's a report on page 17. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Has anybody got any questions if they'd like to raise their hand? Electronic hand. I have trouble reading off of this tablet, it's so small.
Chair, I think Councillor Ely's Councillor Kelly Wilson is indicating.
Okay, Councillor Kelly Wilson.
And I support the officer recommendation, and I think that this is something that is very new for us, and I think that we need the expertise of working with the Carbon Trust, and I do not think it is a good idea for us to just take this really important piece of work and see what free or low cost tools can be done, because quite often it's, you know, the value comes in the advice that the consultants are giving, and they also are able to benchmark us against other organisations. So I would recommend, I agree with the officer recommendation and propose that we make that investment to work with the Carbon Trust for a carbon audit for Bletchley and Fenny Stratford.
Thank you, Councillor Ethan. Councillor Hume.
Yeah, I just want to second that proposal. I think this is actually a really important step, as Councillor Kelly Wilson has said. I think earlier on this year, we made a very clear decision that, to declare a climate emergency, and this is one of the first steps that we are taking, and I think it's a really important step in terms of understanding where our carbon usage is, and for how we take the measures that we need to become a carbon neutral town council in the years to come. So I'm in fully support of all of Ethan's comments there, and so I'll second that proposal.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anybody else wish to comment before we go to the vote? Councillor Gavin Bedford.
My one question would be, would that mean, if we're voting now, would that mean we'd definitely go for it, whatever the cost? Because I know it said this is likely to be in excess of £10,000. So would it come back to us again to vote on the final cost, or?
My thinking was, Councillor, that it would come back for you to vote on the final cost, but I didn't want to pursue any further work if this was a cost that was going to be completely unacceptable to council. But I think it's quite difficult for them to quote without doing quite a lot of the work. So there is quite a lot of work to do to reach a sort of realistic quotation.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions? Okay, I will move to the vote. All those in favour of the recommendation from the report? Just check me, but I believe that is carried with the amount of 4 votes.
There were 9 votes in favour that I could see.
Yeah. Okay,
so it's carried.
Carried. Thank you. Okay, we now move to item 7, which is the renewal of the annual contract for redeployment of the CCTV cameras.
Yes, Chair, this is one of the most successful services I think we introduced last year. The report speaks for itself and the contract details are there. I've got nothing to say, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hume.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say Dee kind of stolen thunder on that. What I was going to say, it has
Sorry.
been that's okay. It's been a huge success. We've seen the difference it's made having the cameras in certainly Serpentine Court for the whole period, but also the addition, the third camera moving around the parish, and I think this is currently, and I hope this is a declaration of interest, it's pretty much right outside my flat window. So at the moment, but it's and whilst the comments from local residents to me in this area is they feel safer because the parish council does have this camera and it is being used around it, and they do feel safer because of it. And I think that's a really important bit of feedback that I've had from residents. So I would like to propose that we renew the contract for another year.
Thank you, Councillor Hume. Do I have a seconder for that proposal? Councillor MacDonald?
Yep, second that one. I think this has been an extremely successful project. It's very good. So absolutely, I'll very happy to second that one.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Haynes, wanted to speak? You're on mute, Councillor Haynes.
That's it. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, great. I lost you for a minute. Yeah. As most of you know, I work with the police quite a lot and the enforcement team. And since we've had the cameras in, it's made their job a lot easier. And the amount of things they've seen and got, you know, I would totally agree with Ed, all what you said about the safety of people. These cameras have been brilliant. And I know I've had a councillor from West Bletchley come and ask me about them. And I believe they're going to look into them as well. So I think we should carry on with this. Even if we can get a 5-year deal out of it, you know, I think this should be carried on.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Haynes. So if nobody else has got any comments, we can move to the vote. Can't see anybody else commenting. Okay, so all those in favour of us renewing the contract? Okay, to me that is everybody voting for that.
Looks that way to me, Chair.
Okay, so that motion is carried. Okay, we now move on to item 8, which is community wellbeing proposals. Delia, do you want to speak before we get started on this because of the budget implications, please?
Yes, if that's all right. If
Yes,
that's all right,
please.
Chair, if I could just briefly share my screen and just do a very, very quick run through of some figures.
Okay, we can see your screen, Delia.
Good, that's great, thank you. So I just had a few points I wanted to make before we started talking about spending some of this year's underspend and thinking ahead about the budget. It's really just something we've talked about before about planning for more than 1 year ahead. And really a council this size with the sort of funds that we've got available should be planning for more than 1 year ahead. And when we decide to take on new contracts or services, it's important that we think about the long-term sustainability of those services. I mean, obviously you don't want to take on a service which is then which the residents really enjoy, but then and benefit from, that then can't be funded in the future. So it's very important to think about the long-term sustainability. Councillor Hume and I attended the Parishes Forum meeting at Milton Keynes Council last Thursday on behalf of Bletchley and Fenny Stratford Town Council, and listened to quite a depressing and dispiriting presentation on behalf of that council about the impact that the pandemic has had on their finances. And I will share the presentation that we received there in due course, but it's clear that Milton Keynes Council is going to be hit very hard financially by the economic impact of the pandemic, and that will cast a shadow on our situation as well, obviously. When we're thinking about the budget going forward, in recent years, the tax base, which, as you know, is the figure that we use to, the basis of all our calculations in terms of the budget planning, we've seen the tax base go up, and you can see on that, it's not very clear on that graph, but you can see that it has gone up quite significantly over the last 5 years. But this year, for the first time ever, the tax base has reduced, despite the fact that there's been housing growth, there have been new houses in the parish. We've seen a reduction, and it's highly likely that the tax base will continue to reduce in future years. The factors on the right that I've highlighted that, involved in determining the tax base are going to come into play in a fairly negative way, I think, in the next few years. Collection rates are decreasing at the moment for council tax, and with with this worst recession that is being predicted, the worst recession in 300 years, we can't expect collection rates to increase at all. So I think it's really important that in planning ahead beyond next year, we recognise that there's a lot of uncertainty. The tax base is likely to decrease. It's a very strong and realistic possibility that it will decrease for a number of years. And we also need to recognise that the grant that we and 9 other parish councils have been fortunate to receive from Milton Keynes Council in the past year, and will be receiving again next year, is not guaranteed beyond 21-22. Milton Keynes Council are having to take a really hard look at their finances, and that grant is one of the things that they will be having a look at. They're under no statutory obligation to give us that grant, and it's entirely possible that they will reduce it, or they will take it, or theoretically take it away completely. So that's something that we really must bear in mind when planning for the future. There's another some more figures on the screen, which is based on my most recent year-end projection, which you can see the net expenditure on that is slightly different from the projection that you've had on the papers that I prepared for tonight's meeting some time ago. But basically, what I'm trying to sort of capture there is your understanding that at the end of the year, I'm anticipating that we'll have round about 400,000 in our general reserve. Now, with a council with the size of Precept that we've got, that's not an unreasonable figure at all. And we are likely to be adding to the reserves by somewhere between 100 and 150,000 pounds. And so that may be giving everyone the feeling that we're sort of quids in and happy days, we're well away in terms of planning for the future. But if we look at the budget that we've planned for next year, you can see that instead of resulting at year end in a contribution of £99,587,000, we're looking at a deficit of, sorry, I keep clicking inadvertently, which I don't mean to do. We're looking at a deficit of over £183,000. And as we project forward through the years, I've done these projections based entirely on our current budget with no new services, no grant from Milton Keynes after next year, and an increase of 1.5% on both income and expenditure. I've calculated for known things such as the end of the neighbourhood plan, the end of the lease at Queensway, those sorts of things. But obviously I haven't been able, there are some things that will be bound to happen which I couldn't include. So this is a very general picture, but you can see that the the deficit gets worse over the next couple of years after next year, and then it starts to get slightly better, and that's because of those issues I've mentioned, the end of the neighbourhood plan and the end of certain other types of expenditure. So the impact that this would have on our general reserves can be seen in this graph, and you can see that by the end of that period, our general reserve is, well, it's non-existent. It's non-existent by 2022 to 2023. And by the end of the period, we're theoretically over £650,000 worth in debt, which of course we wouldn't be, because A, we wouldn't set the budget like that, and also the general reserve isn't the only money that we have. But it just goes to show that the budget that we've set is not sustainable over this 5-year period. It will have to be considered carefully, because it's simply not sustainable. Now, happily, or maybe happily is the wrong word, but as you're all aware, the council already has, in addition to the general reserve, the council holds considerable earmarked reserves. And at the moment, we've got over £1 million in earmarked reserves, and that's the projected figure at year end. Some of those funds are ring-fenced by legal agreements, such as Section 106. But even when those are removed, and I take now the 14,000 that we're holding in there, that actually doesn't belong to us but belongs to Sport England, that still leaves us with over 960,000 in our earmarked reserves. Now, as you know, and I'm sure everyone's aware, when they were setting earmarked reserves, the earmarked reserves must be supported by a realistic future plan, which can be justified to the auditor. This year, I did have to do quite a bit of work to explain our reserves, to justify them. And if these reserves continue to increase or stay the same and are not spent, I do feel that we will have some questions to answer in terms of the the justification for having these reserves. So I think what I really wanted to draw your attention to with these figures is that the budget as it stands at the moment is not sustainable from precept. So we need to either reduce spending or increase income one way or another. And at the same time, we've got a healthy reserve situation, but we need to be scrutinising that and considering whether these reserves should actually be unearmarked, or whether spending should be undertaken sooner rather than later in order to bring the earmarked reserves into a more acceptable position. So that was really all I wanted to draw attention to.
Okay, thank you, Delia. You can stop sharing now, so
Yeah.
I get my screen.
Just trying to do that, Chair. Just trying to do that.
Nothing simple.
Nothing simple, no. Not quite sure why it won't let me. There we are.
That's it. Thank you. Okay, then. So does anybody have any questions on that just before we go ahead? Or we can actually answer them more when we get to the subject of the budget. I thought it was quite important that we understood our position before we started looking at the items that we've now currently got as proposals for tonight on spending some of our money. So the first item on there is the proposal on counselling. Okay, so you've all got in your pack, I think it's on page 33, the wellbeing.
Yes, Chair. Jill has worked on these reports with Councillor Bedford.
Okay, that's lovely.
So she's the one to answer any questions, I think.
Okay, has anybody got any questions to start with on the counselling proposal? Okay, it's a recommendation.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
I was just looking at the figures, that it's very expensive, very. I wouldn't agree with that, to be honest, because it's just a lot of money. And if you're only just doing 20 clients for 5,400, there's loads of people with mental issues. You're only just touching it, to be honest. And I don't think I would want to go down that road, to be honest with you. It should be an all-round facility for people in our area to get counselling, not just 20 people. So I don't agree with it. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, I've lost everybody.
And that we can still see you.
That was really strange. It all went off the screen. Okay, Councillor Keith Ely.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I'm not in favour of it either. I think that there are agencies whose job it is to provide these services, and I think they should be required to do it. There are other services that we can provide that generally other providers don't provide, and therefore I think we should concentrate on those. The budget is already seriously in deficit. We are increasing that deficit, even by what we've been talking about tonight. That is without the well-being issues. and I think that when we come to the budget, we may be able to allocate some money towards this sort of activity, if that's where we want to go. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Gavin Bedford next.
Sorry. While I agree with Samantha that this is clearly needed, and I agree with Keith in the sense that there are agencies who provide the support, but I think the point of this report is that there are agencies that provide it. It's the wellbeing service that we're trying to therefore look to see if we can get our residents signed up to. And I think this report puts it plainly how needed the support need is for residents. The report outlines a clear demand from residents, as we have from Janice, who came and spoke to us before, and shows that the counselling service has the capacity to extend the support to our area. Furthermore, as the report also says, there are funds in this year's budget, as in the year we're currently in, to get the support rolled out next month in January. And I know that we've been talking about deficits, but if you look at those reserves that Delia spoke about, I actually see no issue why it can't continue into the new financial year if we just start in January. And I know there'll be a financial impact of COVID-19, but I think we need to consider the mental health impact of COVID-19 upon our residents, and we need to actually act now to get something going as soon as possible. And while I'm keen to hear more opinions of our councillors, I would like to propose that we follow the recommendations of the clerks and fund option C in the report, covering the cost of 10 residents per quarter, starting from January right through to the end of the next financial year. And I just want to pick up on a point Councillor Brown said. The report does say that if that service can't help a resident from our area, they will then get referred to another support group who can help them. So it's not that people will be turning up and then being pushed away, it's more that will they be referred to. So yeah, I would propose that we fund option C, which starts in January and rolls through to the next financial year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I've got Councillor Kelly Wilson.
We currently fund the Citizens Advice Bureau to the tune of many thousands, and I think there are also other areas for people to get advice on, their own rights. I think that this there is a community disparity when it comes to mental health. There are many people who live in our parish who have private healthcare, who can have that covered through private healthcare. There are many who do not. There are many that cannot access services through the National Health Service or social care because they've closed waiting lists. And I feel at this time, you know, as the local community council for Bletchley and Fenny Stratford, we should be first for our community, and I think that this is a community need. There are other items that we've kind of discussed under this term of counselling. Actually, I do not think that this is expensive when it comes to £35 a session for the support that they'll need. I know that in the private health, you're looking maybe double that. So I think that this is a really good investment, and I think that we should invest this money certainly to the end of this year and a budget for it for next year, and actually get feedback through that time to see how valued it is by residents. But I agree with Gavin's point that right now in this COVID emergency, actually people need that support.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Hume.
Yeah, I don't want to repeat too many of the points that have been made, but I think one of the things that should be said is we do need to think about what services we are providing around wellbeing, around about and Councillor Kelly Wilson made some interesting points about Citizens Advice Bureau. Whilst there's a need for advice, I'm not quite sure what the CAB is. We don't know. We don't necessarily see a demonstration of that in terms of how we fund that. But I think in terms of mental health, there is a crisis happening on mental health, and actually it requires lots of different angles. Yes, the NHS is primarily responsible, and so is our government. But actually, we know they're not ever going to reach everybody. And I think for me, I've had challenges to my mental health this year, and I spoke to my GP. I probably wasn't bad enough to really get registered on any lists. But fortunately for me, I was able to approach my employer, and I was able to seek counselling through that process, through that. And actually, I just think this just gives an alternative to somebody who may not be at a major crisis point and seeking and access an NHS lists, but it may just help somebody. It may just help 20, 40 people in 1 year who are before they get work, before their mental health gets worse, and they get the support that they need to be able to handle various situations and improve their well-being. So I believe Gavin Gavin made a proposal, didn't you? So yeah. I would want to second his proposal. So I want to second his proposal, and I think we just need to be. And I think in the comments, the clerk has said that this has already been put into her projections.
15,000 has been put into the projections because that figure was talked about on the last occasion. I thought it seemed that there was support for this, so I just included that nominal sum. But obviously, if we're going to spend more than that on wellbeing, the budget will need to be adjusted accordingly. But I have included 15,000 for wellbeing in the budget and in the projections.
So yeah, so I want to second this recommendation, but I do think we just need to be aware of that 40 people. We might want to relook at that in terms of the finances, and then maybe as we go through, get to look at the budget, if we're looking at the next item on the list, which may well come in more than £5,000, which will take us over that £15,000 that's already been put in the budget. So yeah, I think we should I want to second them. I think we should go with the recommendation, but I think we just need to keep that number under review as we look at the budget.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can I just check, Councillor Gary Kenworthy, you had your hand up and down. I don't know whether you're having problems or whether you did actually want to speak.
Let's try the volume. Can you hear me, Chair?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, it was a question that was flashed up on my screen. Am I in the meeting? The answer is yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so Councillor Haynes wanted to speak.
Yes, I feel that people's well-being has got to be more important than money. And even if we only stop one person falling deep into that dark hole and not getting better and doing things to themselves, self-harming, we've done our job. Even if we only help one person out of 20, I believe we've done our job and we've done it well. And this is what I think that councillors should look at. It's all right thinking, oh, I'm all right, I don't worry, but the person next door may be totally different. And sometimes they can't talk to their friends, neighbours and family, but they may be able to talk to somebody outside. You know, so I believe, you know, this is the way to go. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Haynes. Okay, so we have a motion on the table which has been proposed and seconded, and just the recommendation is to consider spending 2,700 for counselling from January to March 21, and then 10,800 for 40 people in the budget for 21-22. Okay, so I'll go to the vote now. All those in favour of that motion?
Got 8 indicating on the screen, Chair.
Okay, can we get anyone against? Oh, clear those first. Clear if you voted for it. Okay, anybody against?
Well, there seems to be 3.
Yeah, okay, so that would be carried. Would you confirm that, Delia?
Yes, I'll make that carriage.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we now move on to item 8.2, which is the community and wellbeing again regarding the free swim. Okay.
Again, the support services manager has prepared this report.
Okay.
Should you have questions?
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Okay, I've got Councillor Terry Stevens.
I think it's a very good proposal. I think this follows on from the health and well-being. So you've got your mental health. I think swimming is really important for your physical health as well. So I think it comes hand in glove really with the other. I've just got a couple of questions really, which I want to raise. Is how would the council know if residents' circumstances have changed? So would deem them eligible for it going forward? Is there a process in place to monitor that? And do we have any potential numbers in residents of how many of that, or is it would be a sort of a trial period of a couple of months to see what that looked like? And is there a cap on the amount the council can pay each month to support the concessionary swimming? But I'm fully support it. I think it's a fantastic thing to do, and it will give the reputation of the council would definitely be very positive.
Okay, so are you proposing the recommendation there, Councillor Stevens? Oh, I don't
Yeah,
want to put words into your mouth. I'll
Yeah,
just make
definitely.
sure. Okay, thank you. Okay, I've got Councillor Hume.
Yeah, I think Councillor Stevens has summed up all of my questions. I think my worry is in terms of when we're talking about budgeting, is in terms of actually do we need to have a cap on this? And I know in 2016-17 it was £12,000, which is £1,000 per month. It's not vast amounts, but I think we just need to consider. I mean, I'm going to support the recommendation, but I think we do need to consider a cap, and we also need to consider, sadly, I think we need to consider a cap. If maybe it's something that we just need to monitor throughout the year and then consider a cap as the year progresses. But I think we've got to do this. It's about fiscal well-being and some of the concessionary. I don't have anything else to add. I think I'll repeat some comments from Ron from last meeting where he talked about the challenges of those who are now having to pay for buses before 9:30, and actually maybe this may just help them get into their health and support them financially a little bit better in terms of access to some of the fiscal benefits of swimming. But I'll be supporting this motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Kelly Wilson.
I don't think I do support this motion. I think I am concerned about how things were operated before. I know that the provider, it was said that their systems didn't cope with our with authorising people in the right postcode. I know of a large amount of people who actually lived within the Aylesbury Vale part of Newton Lees that were actually using this swimming benefit, and they were only asked if they lived in an MK3 postcode. That was it. So there was no document checks. I would have to see a lot more than has been provided here from the provider in what management processes they are going to be put in place to assure us that the people are actually valid and actually they do live within the Bletchley and Fenny Stratford parish, and it's just not here for me. Bear in mind that the last time the Finance Committee considered this in, I think it was 2016, 2017, everything that we asked for, they said that they were unable to provide. And I'm slightly concerned that it also says in the report that they will not be able to provide us any information about the actual people because they can't share members' data. So I think I have to say no to this.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Kay Wilson. I'm just going to, before we do any more questions, just go to Jill, because she might be able to answer some of those points you raised there, Councillor Kay Wilson.
Well, first of all, the applicant, in order to get their membership card, will have to complete an application form. West Bletchley have one that's very similar, and they have to provide evidence of their address. So firstly, with regards to Newton Lees, I have spoken to, and it is a new provider there. It's not the same provider before, different company. I said I will provide them with the postcodes that are our area, because obviously they've got to also weigh up West Bletchley's concessionary scheme they've got as well. And so they have to provide evidence, and then I would ask them to check that against the postcodes we've given them, because we have a list of our postcodes. When I said about they can't share data, that was because at the moment I can't get any, as Councillor Stephen said, I can't get any numbers out of them at the moment, because that would mean them sharing their membership data with us, which they don't have permission to do currently from those people who are only signed up as a member, not because they can't in future. So looking at the reports we used to get from the old provider, it used to give us the postcode and the name, but I can't. The one thing I can't give you is how many people in our parish currently swim, which I know is one of the most important things you'll want to know. But that's something when you go swimming, they don't ask you where you live. Basically, when you go and swim somewhere.
Chairman, sorry, Chairman and Jill, can I might be persuaded otherwise if, just a clarifying point. Did the operator say that they could provide for new members that sign up the postcode and
yes,
some information that can be shared with the team so that we know who's using it?
Yes. Once if the scheme goes ahead, then yes, the report we will get every month, we're asking us for the invoice, will show us the details of the person and their postcode. Yes. It's just that I can't get it ahead of time because we haven't got an agreement to share the data.
Sorry, I misinterpreted that.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that's lovely, Jill. Thank you for clarifying. I've got Councillor Ron Haynes wishing to speak.
Yes, can you hear me, Chair?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, I don't think this time it's going to be abused like it was last time. And also, I feel that the Leisure Centre have got their act together a lot better than what it was before, because the previous owners weren't all that good at all. But these people seem to have a lot more ideas, and they do seem to keep a lid on it. And I feel, it's part of well-being. And as I said before, I don't want to see young ones jumping in a blue lagoon because they can't go swimming down the Leisure Centre 2 or 3 times a week. So I think it's in our interest to go forward with this, and we can keep an eye on it. If it gets out of hand, we can deal with it as and when. But I personally don't think it's going to be abused this time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Keith Ely.
Chair, I'm not in favour of it. Most swimmers, in fact, are regulars. They go either every day or every week. and therefore this is a benefit, a financial benefit, not a well-being benefit, because they're going to go whether we pay this subsidy or not, and therefore we shouldn't be considered as a well-being issue. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, I haven't got anyone else wishing to speak who hasn't already spoken. We've got a motion on the table that has been seconded. So I will go to the vote on this now. Okay, so all those in favour, please raise your electronic hand.
I can see 7 people indicating in favour.
Okay, so if you could clear those, please. Those against?
Ron, I think you've got a
No, I'm
legacy
sorry.
hand.
That's it. Got it.
1, 2, 3. 3 against.
Okay, so that will be carried then.
Yes, Chairman, do you wish to put a cap on that, as was mentioned?
I think we should. Does anybody else have any feelings on that? And I just need to bear in mind, I just want everyone to bear in mind that when we gave free swim last time and then we took it away, it wasn't well received within the community. So we need to lay our cards as such that we're doing this, but there is a cap on it. So what sort of recommendation? We've got a recommendation for the budget of 13.5. So do we put a cap on it at 13.5 and then revisit if it goes over that? Okay, Councillor Hume.
Do we need, should it be a monthly cap or an annual cap? Is kind of, I'm wondering whether a monthly cap may well be better, and maybe say the 13,000 divided by 12, so that we can continue to provide the services across the year. I don't think we'll reach that number in year 1, but I just think a monthly cap may well be a better way of doing it. I don't know how feasible that will be with Inspiral. Maybe that's on that Jill could work with them on.
Okay. Councillor Ely.
I don't think a monthly cap will work. The use in the summer is far higher than it is in the winter. You may only get £500 in the worth in the winter, but in the summer you'll get infinitely more. Therefore, a monthly one won't work. And just think how it's going to work anyway. How are you going to impose it? Some stage or other, you're going to turn around and say, well, no, that one can come in, but the person behind him, so we've reached the limit, you can't come in. Exactly the same condition. It just, well, I think the more you think about the scheme, the worse it really gets, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Moat Imran. Right, did you want to speak? You had your hand up. Can't hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Sorry, guys. All right, I think we shouldn't have a cap on it because, like the councillor said, in summer people use it more, and in winter people use it less. But sometime 1 month or holiday season with the kids and all that, there can be a lot of people turning up, and when it's no holidays, might not many people use it. So I would say no, put cap on it monthly. Yeah, put cap on it, but no monthly cap on it.
Okay, thank you. So I'm sort of hearing that we should put a cap on it, but maybe a yearly cap. And also maybe that cap should be what's in the budget, because then as we're getting close to it, it gives the Finance Committee time to bring it to Council to have a look at. So I think if everyone's okay, we should put the budget cap on it of 13,500. Do I have anyone who agrees with me, who can support that?
I agree with that. Chairman, could we also discuss the criteria? Because I think that the two tables are very wide. I think that I prefer table 1 because it is means tested. I'm looking at table 2, and under no circumstances could I agree with someone getting free swimming just because they are a full-time student.
Okay, so let's do the cap first. So we've got a proposal 13,500. It's been seconded. So we'll do a vote on that and then we'll look at the criteria. Okay, so all those in favour?
I can see 8 votes in favour of the cap.
Okay. If you can clear those, please. Just for my maths, Delia, how many do I need each time to know that it's gone through with how many's here? Okay. Okay.
Got 14, so you need 8.
Okay. So anyone against?
I can see Councillor Hayne and Councillor Ely have got hands up. I'm not sure what Councillor I didn't think Councillor Hayne was voting against.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't get time to put it down. I just had a text come through. It's all right.
All right.
Okay, so all those against? Okay, anybody abstaining?
Councillor McDonald.
Okay, so we've got 1 against, 1 abstaining, and how many did you say for?
Well, I
8.
said 8, I thought, yeah.
So that doesn't bring us to the right amount, but
No, it doesn't.
It would.
It doesn't.
Somebody hasn't voted at all. But I think that's carried because it's 8 people for it. You do need to vote.
Would it be safer to vote again, Chairman? Because I can't see what Councillor Kenworthy's doing. I believe he's still on the meeting.
Okay, so we'll start the vote again.
Can we start the vote again, please?
Yeah, all those in favour of the cap of 13,500.
Right. 9. I've got 9 now because I can see Councillor Kenworthy's vote. I've got 9 in favour.
Okay, so clear all those.
Councillor Hayne, legacy hand.
Okay, those against.
I can only see 1 now.
Yeah. Okay, so clear. Abstentions?
2 abstentions.
Okay, does that bring us to the right amount? It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I have one more question to ask. I did put my hand up, but it didn't show. I don't know why.
Okay.
Okay. Is there going to be a limit to how many times a household can attend the swimming activities, or is it just going to be a cap on there as many times as people want to attend from those postcode areas that Jill said that would be a list of?
I don't think there is normally a cap. We just let people use it until we get to our limit. They can go go every day if they wanted.
Right, okay.
That's my understanding too.
Yeah. Okay, so we now move to the criteria of the scheme. We've got table 1 and table 2. And I believe that Councillor Kelly Wilson is recommending that we go with table 1 and is putting that forward as a motion, or not? Yes, you are. Okay. So, Councillor Gavin Bedford.
I believe the recommendation we voted on was not table 1 or table 2. It was table 1 plus adults age 60 plus, youth swimming, so 3 to 16 years, further education 16 to 19, and the unemployed. So I don't think it's an either or situation between 1 and 2. From what I'm understanding, it's 1 plus those ones that I've just outlined in the report and the recommendation.
Let's get clarification because that's not how I'm reading it. So clarification.
It said on the recommendations, it says that there.
Okay.
Well, the recommendation was, as Councillor Bedford said, it was for table 1 plus some additional others, which is what pretty much mirrors exactly what West Bletchley currently do. So that was the recommendation from myself. But that's one of the options for you to discuss whether you want to take that recommendation or come up with another alternative.
Okay, hold on. Hold that thought, because Delia, if we've just voted and agreed the motion, then that would carry. We can't then go back and look at this criteria because that's the motion we've agreed. So am I correct in that?
Well,
because we took the recommendation, didn't we?
Well, you did, as I understand it, yeah.
So we can't go back and look at the criteria, unfortunately. Is that correct?
Well, I think that would be the letter of the law.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think it's quite important that that everybody knows what they've voted for and is satisfied with what they've voted for. Okay, so can we take Ethan's proposal to do table 1?
Chairman, I'm actually happier with the proposal than I was just reading the 2 tables.
Okay.
There are some things in the table which I am concerned about. So one of them is full-time students, and by full-time student, I'm thinking someone who is over the age of 18 and likely to have a grant, and also foster carers who are they are paid to do that work. So I'm actually more comfortable with the list at the bottom of page 36.
Okay, so do you want to withdraw the proposal and you're happy with what we've got?
I will withdraw the I will withdraw the proposal that I made with regards to just accepting table 1.
Okay, that's lovely. Okay, so we're all happy and we can move on to the next item on the agenda. Yeah, Councillor Haynes, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I was going to say I would recommend option 2 if you're going to have a vote on it.
I think we weren't going to.
No.
I think that.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Right, thanks. Right, we're moving on to item 8, number 3, Wellbeing Age UK. It says to follow.
I think Jill needs to speak to this one, Chairman.
Yes, I was hoping to have something from Age UK by yesterday. They haven't sent it through to me, so we'll have to defer that one if we can to next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Is everyone in agreement that item is deferred to our next meeting?
Councillor Hume wishes to speak.
Councillor Hume.
Are there any implications on the Age UK one on our budget? Just bearing in mind the conversation later on, and I would agree that we should defer it, but I think it'll be useful to understand whether there is an issue with the funding.
Well, possibly it was potentially going to be looking at maybe a grant for the remainder of this year to help them out with the work they're already doing, and then a view to look into whether we wanted to go into a partnership with Age UK going forward. But at the moment, I don't have any information. But it was more initially for this year potentially because they do such work in our community, a lot of work in our community already, and that would come out of the grant, the balance of the grant funding.
Okay, so that's fine then. So we can't make a decision on something we haven't got the information for.
No.
So we do need to defer that item. Okay, but we do have money in the grant budget, so hopefully they'll get back to us.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to RYIS.
Yes, Youth Information Service. They do a lot of work with young people in the community, and I've got a Zoom meeting with them on Thursday. So unfortunately, they couldn't meet with me before today. But that again, that would be a partnership. So there would be some financial going forward for next year potentially to see if we were so wanted to work with them and support them in the community. I think they gave us some data that only 6 people in their community actually received counselling last year. That's not enough considering we have a lot of youngsters. So this was really to see what we could do really. But I won't have a report till next time.
Okay, so we're going to have to defer that item again because we can't make a decision with no information. Okay, so that item will be deferred Everyone's in agreement, but please bear that in mind when we're setting the budget. So, okay, moving on to citizens' advice, which we have a report for. Anybody got any questions? Anything they would like to? Okay, Councillor Kelly Wilson.
So this is a very interesting request where they are actually asking us to fund their delivery model so that they can move from a phone service to using video. I am aware of Attend Anywhere. I've attended health appointments using Attend Anywhere, and I know that this is being rolled out in the NHS. My concern is that currently people contact the Citizens Advice Bureau using an 0800 number, which means that the CAB in Milton Keynes is paying for all of the people that call it. Surely they're going to have a saving in the phone calls that they get by using this software, which could pay for these licenses.
Okay, thank you. I've got Councillor.
Sorry, they're also for all of Milton Keynes the council area, and not just Bletchley and Fenny Stratford.
Which we would need to be careful on because we can only fund things in our area. Councillor Edgeham.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the reasons for having a phone service and also doing stuff online. My concern is the initial CAB was to deliver services from Spotlight and provide face-to-face advice. Now, there are challenges this year, and I think we're probably into half of next year. But I do think I'm just a bit. I don't think we should necessarily move away from that. And I do have concerns if it's all online, is actually what does that mean for people who don't necessarily have the online skills, who are probably using this service to get advice where they can't search on, because they don't know how to search on Google, for example, or they don't have access to the internet. So they're kind of my concerns on that. And I just wonder, Jill, whether you'll be able to answer about the in-person service and whether that, once things are better in the wider situation, whether we would be able to go back to having the regular drop-in sessions.
I don't think CAB have ruled that out, but at the moment I think they foresee that this is a potential alternative anyway for them, as well as face-to-face. They recognise some people can't do face-to-face, which is why we've talked about having a dedicated room at Spotlight for us to enable people to be able to do the online with our support. They haven't said either way. I'm sure they would hope to go back to face-to-face, and that's a contract we have them on a yearly basis, a partnership we have with them. But I don't think there's any idea when that's going to be in the very near future. And I think because we haven't spent this year's allocation, because we haven't provided the service, we asked them if there's anything they felt we could help them with in order to continue providing the service. They are still providing services to our residents. It's just not from a face-to-face in Spotlight.
May I speak, please, Chair?
Yes, please go ahead.
I would just say that the Citizens Advice Service provides service to more residents from Bletchley than from any other part of Milton Keynes. Also, they tell me, although we funded face-to-face appointments at Spotlight, that is not the totality of the support that they are giving to residents of Bletchley and Fenny Stratford parish, just so that you're aware.
Okay, thank you, Delia. Okay, I've got Councillor Gavin Bedford.
I would just want to note as well that in the report it does say that the council would assist residents who can't access the stuff online from their own home by designating a room at Spotlight for the virtual meetings. So there are other alternatives for people who would usually use Spotlight to access this. Just about the tier thing and that it supports and that it wouldn't just be our area. Speaking to Jill, am I right, Jill, in thinking that they don't just require one license, they require, did you say around 20? So then we would be helping them out with one, and then other places around the Milton Keynes area are going to be paying for other licenses as well.
From what I understand, that is just a contribution towards it. That's not the whole of the license for the whole of Milton Keynes.
Okay. Do you got anything further, Councillor Bedford, or was that?
Apart from, I haven't got anything else, but I would say that again, I would put forward a proposal to go with the recommendation put forward by the clerks of a mixture of options B and C in the report, which is to fund the annual license, to put, as Jill said, put a contribution towards the annual license, and the IT requirements for the drop-in.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the one thing I was going to ask, if we do the drop-in at Spotlight and provide the IT, Spotlight obviously is under COVID-19 at the moment, so we don't have anyone there all the time. So how would this work practically?
We currently have the IT suite open in 2 afternoons a week, along with the food bank during the day. We would have to designate, I would say, a appointment system that would fit in with the availability we have. I mean, not everyone's going to want to use it from Spotlight. There are a lot of people that can do it. One of the things that the counselling service told us is that only 5% of people referred couldn't make the appointments online. So there are a lot of people that can, but it would only be minimal, and we would have to make it work around the times that we have the availability to support somebody. And we do, we're there every single day of the week at the moment. Well, working day of the week.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have the proposal from Councillor Gavin Bedford to go with the officer recommendation. Is there a seconder? Or does anybody have any further questions or have any amendments? Councillor Hume.
What is what will be the total cost over the whole for this? So we've got the different costs of the license and then the per workstation. Is there a total cost? Am I missing something?
It would. The recommendation would be to pay for one license and one workstation, which would be £4,534.55. I haven't got my calculator in front of me.
4534.55.
Which is less than what we currently, and this would be less than what we currently spend on the CAB.
Yes. I think we currently send £8,000 a year on the CAB agreement currently.
Okay, Councillor Wilson. Okay, Wilson, I know you've already spoken, but you can speak again.
So actually, we're extending the contract because we pay £8,000 a year for the CAB, and they're now asking us to pay an additional £3,762 on top of that on an annual basis.
Please, could I speak, Chair, to this?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah, I think when Council asked us to look at ways of increasing well-being, Jill and I talked about the various different services that we were already involved with that couldn't be delivered this year. We looked at ways in which the council could be contributing to people in the community who are struggling at the best of times and struggling even more during the pandemic. I'd like to make it clear that the Citizens Advice Bureau did not come begging. We asked them if there was something we could do to help, because we were not giving them the money that we'd precepted for and that we had in our budget to pay them to deliver a service to our residents. So we asked them, and this is one of the things that they suggested as a way of helping them.
Okay,
because they couldn't deliver the contract that we had with them.
That's fine. Thank you for that clarification, Delia. I think that might help people. So we have a motion. I just need to know if there is a seconder or an amendment or a new motion. 'Cause 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 Councillor O'Rourke.
I second it.
Thank you, Councillor O'Rourke.
Councillor Weimer was indicating, Chair.
Councillor Weimer. Marie.
Sorry, I was only going to second it. It's fine.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so all those in favour of the motion?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I've got 9, I think.
Yeah, 9. I think that 9, that's carried.
Okay, so that recommendation is carried because we had 9 for it.
Yes.
Okay, we're now moving on to item 9 to review the draft budget prior to setting in January 2021.
Yes, Chair. This document has not changed since the last time it was considered at full council on the 24th of November, and we did try to look at it at the Finance Committee, but we had difficulties. I'm told that not everybody can see the annotations that I've made on the document in the app, so I have sent another copy of it out to everybody by email so that they can see the annotations, and there's also a brief report at the end of the document from me. But it's a matter for you now to consider any amendments.
Okay, I would like to point out it's quite difficult to look at all these documents on these small tablet screens.
I think I agree with you, Chair. I agree.
Okay, Councillor Mo Imran, you wish to speak?
Sorry, I put my hand by mistake, so it's all right.
Okay, no problem. Okay, Councillor Haynes.
No, I'm sorry, I can't. Chair, I can't seem to lower my hand. There's something gone wrong. I don't wish to speak.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
Okay, it's quite a lot of documents to take in.
God. Right.
As I say, it hasn't changed since it was looked at by the Finance Committee on the 8th of December, but it wasn't possible to have a very productive discussion on that occasion. There is a further meeting of the Finance Committee on the 12th of January, when the matter can be looked at again. On the agenda, you'll see that I've suggested that you look at spending of the underspend, which I think you've already done quite a bit with tonight.
Right, yeah.
And then looking at ways of addressing the deficit in the projected budget, and then finally considering any requests to the Finance Committee or to officers for any additional information prior to the meetings in January, because in January we do have to, at the Finance Committee, we do have to come up with a recommendation for Council, and then at the committee meeting on the 26th, the full Council meeting on the 26th rather, we must set the preset, we must set the budget and the precept on those occasions. So those are the 3 things that I thought you might like to consider as outlined on the agenda.
Okay, so
I think Councillor Hume's indicating.
Okay, Councillor Hume.
So I think I'm quite concerned about the overall budget number at the moment, and the future impact. I think it would be useful to have more of an outline of what we're expecting as one-off costs next year in the budget. But I also think I think we do have to tackle some of our earmarked reserves, and I think one of the ways that I want to see that tackled is by understanding what our costs are for our buildings over the next 3 to 5 years, so we can properly financially plan for them. What needs to be done to those buildings to maintain them at the standards that we want them to be maintained at, and I think that's slightly separate to the budget, but it will inform financial decisions and how much we should be looking at taking from earmarked reserves, and that may well help us in the future years in terms of balancing the budget. But yeah, I think it's a challenging budget, and I think next year will produce some interesting decisions that will need to be made. And so that's why I'm quite interested to understand what are exactly the one-off costs that we're expecting this year, and understand some of those future costs in terms of our buildings, because I think they're the things that potentially savings could be found in maybe not necessarily this year, but in future years as well.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. I suppose looking at 9.1 projects underspend and use funds for additional new activities, I think we've just added quite a lot in there.
Yeah.
So probably if no one else has any problems, I think that part of it is done.
Yeah.
And we need that obviously put into the budget so we can see where we are. Project for 21-22, alternative approach to dealing with this.
So the deficit. I mean, to be honest, I've
talking
heard,
about Queensway, aren't we? Yeah.
yes, that there will be they won't be one-off costs necessarily. They are in the projection that I've done, and I will share the 5-year projection in full at the Finance Committee. That does take account of those costs over the next 5 years. And the projection, as you saw in the little slide I showed you, I'm not sure that there are many one-off costs in the budget. Just coming back to what Councillor Hume was saying, I'm not sure there are many one-off costs in the budget for next year. I mean, there are specific costs. There are 1 or 2, but there are not many.
Okay, I think item 3 with the request to the finance and yourselves, I think Councillor Hume's put some of those forward.
Yes, and I've made a note of those, yeah.
Yeah, have we got any other requests from any other councillors? No? Okay, so item 2 is the only one we're a little bit what we can actually do there. Anybody got anything?
Well, I think Councillor Hume's alluded to the fact that maybe some of the earmarked reserves could be
looked at
and repurposed potentially.
Yeah.
Which is something we could ask the Finance Committee to do on the
okay.
On the 12th.
Is there anything else, Delia, that you want to highlight?
I don't think there's anything that I haven't already already indicated. No.
Okay, since I'm not having any questions, I think we'll won't put anything further forward. I think those are the items that we've put forward that Councillor Hume raised. And obviously we've got all these changes to make of what we've agreed this evening.
Councillor Hume again.
Councillor Hume.
Can we at the next finance go through the budget line by line? I just wonder whether there might be questions that come up when we go through, if we go through line by line about how we can try and reduce maybe some of the deficit.
Okay.
Yes, certainly.
I know that's going to be a painful meeting, so we do, yeah.
No, it's what I would expect to do.
Yeah.
Councillor.
Okay, so if nobody's got any further comments, I'm going to move on from item 9. Okay, we'll move on. Okay, item 10, to note the tax base.
Yes, just coming back to the the fact I highlighted this at the beginning, and I just I think it would be helpful for the finance committee when we're going through the budget on the 12th, although you know, the budget will not be agreed until the full council meeting at the end of January. Finance committee, although they haven't made a formal recommendation in the minutes, they were very clear that they didn't want to see any increase on the Band D council tax bill for next year. It'd just be helpful to get an endorsement of that approach from full council or not, because I think that would help the finance committee.
Okay, does anybody have any comments or agree with that?
No.
I think you're getting the feedback, Delia, that that's the steer that I'm feeling. Nobody's saying anything against that.
No. Okay, thank you.
Are you happy with that? We minute that?
I will take that as an indication that I will work on that, but that there's no commitment. I'll work on that basis, but there's no commitment.
Yes. Okay then, so we'll now move on to item 11, to consider purchase of IT equipment for use by councillors during the pandemic. I think this is really important, because we are doing all these meetings. We have been now since what, April?
Yes.
Doing virtual meetings, and as we've noticed tonight, touchwood hasn't been too bad, but we have had problems in the past with our IT equipment.
Yes.
And I think it's really important that everyone can participate in the meetings as fully as they want. And this can be difficult if you're having problems with IT.
Yes. I have attempted to do a survey of members, and not everyone's responded, but of those people who have responded, I've identified that there are 4 councillors who don't have access to a tablet or a PC with camera to use in addition to their council provided tablet. So they're relying on a smartphone, which is very, very difficult. So I think it's important for the council to consider how we move forward from that. I haven't actually got any costings for you. But Jill may be able to give an indication of what it would cost to buy additional tablets, although I know not everyone's thrilled with their tablet, but perhaps Jill could also speak about the new app, which I think might make the tablets a bit more appealing to people.
I am so against these tablets. I cannot use them.
I think I'm clear about that, Chairman. I mean, an alternative might be, you know, a low-cost computer.
Laptop.
I don't know. Yeah, laptop.
I think they would get on much better with a laptop. Yeah. But Jill, what's your recommendation?
The new app that 4 of the councillors have had installed, and hopefully they'll back me up on this, and it's on mine I'm using now, is hugely different to what you've had before, and you can easily see what you're doing. So from a point of view of the modern Gov side of things, the new version of the app is completely different and much easier to use, and you wouldn't have any issue of reading stuff because it's so intuitive. The tablets themselves, so if you only used your tablet for your Modern Gov, that's fine. If you had Modern Gov on a laptop, then you wouldn't have the interactivity of being able to annotate and make notes and save things and update it. You'd only be able to view it like you can now through the extranet, which you've all got access to as well, which is just literally viewing your papers. You'd lose that functionality of what we paid for as the software, unless you bought a laptop that had a touch screen. which
Yes.
would then
Jill,
increase your cost.
I think we're concerned about those who are not having a device that they can easily work with Zoom on, because there's really no. We've had another reminder from NALT today saying that it's really important that we continue with remote meetings. That's the government advice, and I think it's going to be some time before we're out of having Zoom meetings. And it's for those councillors who are trying to use their phone for either Zoom or the
No, we discussed that with a couple of the councillors today that we did the app for, and they said the same thing. It's much easier to do Zoom when you can see your grid of people rather than just seeing one person.
So it's okay to have the tablets for the Modern Gov, but I think we need laptops for the Zoom meetings, and also it's much easier typing emails and doing everything every day using a computer than the tablet, because they're so small and the keyboard is so small. So I would say that we need laptops because we've already got the tablets.
I would need to get some costs in for it wouldn't need to have very much on it, on the basis that we wouldn't need to have Microsoft licenses for it. So I would need to get some costs if you wanted to, and then gauge how many people would require one.
Okay, but because this is getting quite urgent now and we're having like lots of IT issues, can we not say that we will buy at least 4 laptops with a cap of how much money, so you can go out and get these? Because we want them for the next full council, so people have got proper equipment to do the meetings, because it does cause issues. I mean, tonight I'm using my own equipment.
If that's what the council resolved to say to do, then yes, by all means I'll go out and do it.
Okay, what does everybody think about supplying some laptops?
I've got my hand up.
Okay, go on then, Eamon.
Have we received back the iPads that people who have left are no longer councillors?
We're trying to get those, aren't we?
I can answer that. We've received one back, and 2 councillors have, despite our best efforts, have not returned them.
No.
Okay, but I'm going to try and sort those, so we will, but that's just the tablets. Okay, Councillor Hume.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm using a laptop here, and I'm actually I split my screen, but I'm fine with doing that, and I've got other devices. I just wonder, in terms of we potentially want this for the next full council, I'm just wondering whether when there's a finance meeting before the next full council, and whether we delegate the if Jill comes back with a proposal for that finance meeting, then we delegate the authority of to the finance committee to agree to the purchase of 4 laptops or a number of laptops.
Finance committee's on the 12th. Jill, would that give enough time to make the purchase? I'm not sure it would it?
No.
What were you thinking? I mean, I was thinking of a cap of £2,000, which would give ample, wouldn't it, Jill?
Yeah, because they don't need to be all singing or dancing laptops if you're only going to use them for Zoom and Office 365. So they don't need to be. They need to be good enough to work, but they don't need to be. I don't need to have anything else on them. Really.
Okay. It will add to the servicing costs of our ACS contract, because it's additional laptops that would need to be maintained.
But we've taken a lot off since we got rid of loads, didn't we? So in our contract, so that would just even itself out, wouldn't it?
We haven't removed a lot of laptops. No, we've only moved a couple of the laptops because we've still got 4 laptops in circulation currently.
Yeah, but we had lots of other laptops that we've taken out of circulation, so they must be covered by ACS, so we can just use those.
No, ACS charges by user, not by necessarily by equipment.
Okay.
So if they're assigned to a user, then it's going to be an initial 4. So we didn't. Those other ones weren't assigned to people. They were just laptops that were being used as and when.
Do we have to assign these to people then, or are they not just general?
Probably not.
Okay,
I would think so. Probably not.
Okay,
so let's probably get away with it.
Let's just go. Let's go. I'll put forward that we buy 4 laptops with a cap of £2,000, and we know it's not going to come anywhere near that, and we need to get these ready for councillors so they can do their meetings properly and feel part of it. So I'll put forward that proposal. If someone will second it, that'd be great.
I'm happy to second that.
Thank you, Councillor Kenworthy. Okay, has anybody else got anything else? Anyone want to say anything? Okay, all those in favour?
Ten, according to me. 10,
Yeah.
11 carried, Chairman.
Okay, so that's carried. Thank you very much for that. So hopefully it'll help us going forward with IT. Okay, so I'm now moving on to 12, which is planning applications. Okay, the first planning application is 3 Osborne Street. It's a single story rear extension. Does anybody have any comments?
I'm not going to participate in that. I live near them, so.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay, anybody? Councillor Imran? No?
It's all right. I was trying to fiddle with it.
You got no comment, no?
No comment yet.
Okay, so no comment by this council. Okay, we will move on to item 2, which is 143 to 145 Queensway. The change of use of the first and second floors from a B1 to a C3. That's going to residential. And it's to create 8 new residential apartments. Okay, I've got Councillor Haynes.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I believe this is overdevelopment for the area because I've been round to have a look, and eight new flats is going to be massive in there. And we've also got an environmental problem in that area anyway. So I would say we should turn it down on overdevelopment because 8 new flats is too many. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Then I've got Councillor Michael McDonald.
Yeah, I'm going to go the opposite with that one. I think we could support that one. It's area that's not being used for the office purpose. And whenever I look kind of some areas of Queensway, there's still plenty of space for parking, just not directly on the front of the high street. So I would personally support that.
Okay, has anybody else got any comments?
No.
Okay, Councillor Hume.
My only comment would be, and this is going to be a surprise because usually I'm very cautious about development in Queensway and changes of uses. I don't think we can necessarily object on the grounds that Councillor Hayne outlined because it's a change of use. However, I do, looking at the report, there are 14 car parking spaces, and therefore my usual worry about development on Queensway is around parking. And I don't necessarily think this is an issue, and therefore I think we should just do a no comment on this one.
Okay, so we've got
no comment.
3 variations here
Yes.
of what people think. So we need to get a consensus of what everyone thinks should happen here.
I didn't hear a seconder, Chair, for any of the proposals.
No, none of them. Do we have a seconder for any of the proposals?
No. No comment, I think it'll be.
Any seconder for the no comment proposal?
I'll second it.
Thank you. So that's the only one we've got a seconder on. So we'll go for the vote. All those in favour that we make no comment on this application.
That seems to be carried to me.
Carried, yeah, it's 9 now. Okay, so we will now move on to the next one, which is 24 Vicarage Road. A rear extension, new roof materials and new roof to front bays. Councillor Kelly Wilson.
Sorry, I left my hand up from the vote.
Okay, so as no one said anything, I'm going to take that as a no comment one. Okay, same again, 24 Vicarage Road. It's proposed loft conversion.
No comment.
Is everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, no comment. Then we move on to 13 to 40 Clark Road.
No comment.
No comment. Absolutely no comment.
Anybody got? Okay. Then we will move on to 169 Queensway. Anybody got anything to say? Anyone got any view?
No, no comment.
No, it's everybody the same. Okay, no comment. Then we move to 2A Cambridge Street.
No comment.
Okay, it's all councillors. Anybody want to say anything? Okay, I can see that's nobody. Then we move on to Drayton Road Surgery, 20 Drayton Road. Nobody have anything?
No,
okay, I'll take that as nobody then.
no comment.
And we've come to the end of the agenda. Okay.
I was surprised we were going to get it done before 10.
Yeah, look at that. I'd like to thank you all for your participation this evening. Thank you very much. That's the end of the meeting for Bletchley and Fenny Stratford Full Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Cheers.